set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. Don't stop. Stupid up. And if you get in my way, you gonna feel the wrath. Gotta say it to my face while he's looking back. Mirror breaks after math. When I hate, I attack. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, yeah.
Turn on your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding voice and control.
What is going on, Hive? I hope everybody's having a great day. Got the audio. Oh, yeah, we are loud and clear. I always love Thursdays. Get to put on a suit, look good, feel good, play good. Big believer in that. And this evening, I have Miss Sammy T Mafia backstage after a vacation that she was on, which looked wonderful from the photos that she shared with me. But I always enjoy having Sammy on, and I know that we have no shortage to talk about, especially when there is a case like the Idaho 4, one of the biggest murder cases in our lifetimes probably, and they just want to flush it down the toilet with a bullshit guilty plea. To put it bluntly, the entire world sees how terrible this investigation was. And as Mr. Goncalves would say, Idaho has been put on the map. They are absolutely on the map now. People are awake to it. And we are not going to stop until we get to the bottom of it and real justice is served. I will quickly just remind everybody to please hit the like button as you are filing in. Hitting like is free. Hitting subscribe is free. If you'd like to join Hive Plus, that is those hitting like, hitting subscribe, joining Hive Plus. That's the best way to support the channel. Hive Plus, no pressure to do so, but it is a way to get the emojis and the Hive Mind logo next to your name, depending on how long you have been in the Hive. And so to anybody who does sign up for that, I appreciate it. All of the streams will always be free. There's just some added perks for those that do sign up for Hive Plus. And as a reminder, Wednesday, April 29th, 7 p.m., you guys are going to get sick of me promoting this probably, but I want to make sure that the Hive shows out for Christopher Whitcomb, who will be talking about the new book, Broken Plea, which I could say with quite certainty it's going to shake the mainstream to its core, just from the small conversations that I've had with his manager and discussing what we're going to talk about. You guys are not going to be disappointed at all. And so without further ado, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead. I see Sammy backstage. She's ready to go. I'm going to bring up Miss Sammy T Mafia. Hello, Sammy.
Oh, Hive, I missed you so much.
How have you been?
I have been great. I've watched so many of your episodes, and I am so excited for this. What was it, April 23rd, you said?
April 29th.
April 29th. Hi, guys.
So, yeah, that's awesome. And I was giving a shout out to we do have all of the mods in the Hive are the best on YouTube. I want to give a special shout out, though, to Luna, who took a chance and emailed Christopher, and he agreed. So,
well, it's a testament to your work. It's a testament to the Hive. I think it's great that experts and people with the know-how like Jeff and people like this author are now seeing what we have been saying. I mean, obviously we are taken less seriously than those people, which sucks, but I think we've made a difference, and I think people are less afraid to talk about this and how fucked up it is because we're so open and we're relentless. And sometimes being relentless is a good thing.
It is a good thing. And like I was saying in the intro, we've talked about this a million times, right? So we can continue to talk about all of the discrepancies in the evidence when it comes to the reports, the videos, the interviews, right? That's been discussed at lengths. Is it interesting? Yes, it'll probably always be interesting because it's going to continue to be mind-blowing that there wasn't one person that was investigating that case that said, hold up, everybody, let's just slow down. Let's slow down right now. We are absolutely botching this, and we have zero way to recover if we continue down this path. And nobody did that. So what I'd like to talk about tonight, and the reason why I have the theme of I killed them with an arrow towards Ann Taylor, is Ann Taylor really let Brian Koberger get up there and say that. Ann Taylor, Brian Koberger's defense attorney, really let her client stand up there in front of bumbling Judge Hippler and say, God, yes, I committed this murder with premeditation and forethought on 4 people. Meanwhile, Bill Thompson stands up there and says, we don't know if he planned to kill all of them. We can't put him in the house. We don't know the connection. We don't even know his motive. Oh, and we don't have a murder weapon. And nothing of evidentiary value was found in his apartment or office.
So I always have had this split of thinking, on one hand, it's her job to lay all the options out on the table if you're a defense attorney. And I thought there's a possibility if this is something so bad, so corrupt or dangerous, that maybe Brian Koberger was in some form of danger, his family was being threatened. But then I had 50% of my brain said, people who work for the government, even if they're defense attorneys, their salaries are being paid for by the same government that's paying for the prosecutors. It's coming out of the same pot, the same people. Ann Taylor doesn't just get to walk away after this and not see these judges for another case and another case and another case. This is her entire career. So she's not going to push that hard. I mean, she pushed, but she also made more than a couple of mistakes. And one of the biggest ones was giving up and signing that plea deal. And so I know
Yeah.
that I've heard custody queens and I've heard Ron talk about what they should do next and what are the possibilities, but I'm waiting. What are they waiting for at this point? What
They're
else?
not.
They're just going to what? Let him rot in jail
Yeah.
forever?
Honestly, I hate to be that negative. Guys, that ship has sailed so long ago. I go through these phases, but I always come back to this common denominator of if they were going to make a move, they would have made one. This is the worst strategy ever. Why would you wait until your client accepts 4 life sentences just to get a death penalty off the table when there's clear and obvious corruptions without pointing to the public? So not only are they not telling the public, this is insane what we have, not only is the prosecutor not sharing evidence with the defense, which they are legally required to disclose everything that they have, right? And on top of that, the media is having a field day with their client and they don't do any of it. They're like 0 for 9. And so at that point, when they're not saying anything yet, they're not going to.
You know, I remember when that hearing happened that Ann Taylor couldn't argue her way out of a paper bag when it came to saying why the phone that like it was wrong and the reports of the mapping were wrong and how the car, we can't say that that's his car, that this isn't his car. And she should have made those arguments and it was right there. And she blew it that day. She blew it. And people I remember online were saying, oh, her mother died that week. And so she was, okay, then give it to somebody else and tell them what to say. I can't believe that I let her slide on that excuse and felt some sort of empathy. Now that we're in this position, I should have fucking slapped myself and said, no, bitch, get up and do your fucking job.
I mean, so really when, and I saw, I wish I could find that comment. It's probably too far gone. I believe it was somebody in the Hive with the username of Third Apache. They had said a good judge would have never accepted that plea deal. And I don't actually know the background on that. So is it possible, can a judge make a last second decision to not accept a plea, even if the defendant is wanting to?
I mean, the likelihood that a judge is they're just gonna do what the court wants.
I got by the way, I switched over from ChatGPT to Super Grok. They're running a promotion.
Uh-huh.
So now I have like 4 or 5 AI agents
Ooh.
on one tab. So it's
when
like
$10. When
$10.
are they going to take over our show for us?
No kidding, right? It's
one
a little
day
bit.
we're gonna be AI Birdie and AI Sam will be like, we're so sorry. You can only tell by like the little flecks in our eyes look different.
Well, I remember Ron from Custody Queens. He said, he's like, I talked to my AI nicely because I already know they're about to have like a grading score on how you talk to AI one day. And I'm like, I'm cooked because I talk mad smack to mine.
I am so borderline abusive to my Alexa. She fucking hates me. She is such a fucking cunt to me. I swear to God, I'll be like, play TLC. And she'll be like, playing Lionel Richie. Fuck you.
Well, so apparently with the question that I just asked is, yes, a judge can reject a guilty plea at the last second, even during the plea hearing itself. Even if the defendant desperately wants to take the plea, the prosecutors have already agreed to it. It's not rare or unusual. Wow.
This set the precedent that is now going on in the Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson case. And let me tell you what that precedent is. That precedent is we don't have to show you our work.
Yep.
We don't have to show you chain of custody. The feds are going to come in and the feds are going to say, no, we don't feel like showing you how we got it. Trust us, bro. The trust us, bro flew so much in this case. I've never, and by the way, this also set the precedent where transparency isn't the first line. Like you're supposed to be transparent first and only in the most impossible situations where it's the only thing because of national security or doxing people's addresses or personal medical information are you supposed to not seal things like that. Like that's the only reason why you should be sealing things. This set a precedent where everything goes under seal and then we decide if you want to be transparent or not. I've never seen anything like it. And now I'm seeing a pattern because they're doing the exact same shit in the Charlie Kirk case where the FBI gets a bullet jacket, the ATF tries 7 ways to Sunday to match it to this gun, and they can't do it. It's a fragment. They have a jacket. It's a fragment. It's so tiny and minuscule. So what does the FBI do? Are they happy with that ATF report? No, of course not, because it's exculpatory to Tyler Robinson.
Exactly.
So what do? They say, we want to take that bullet jacket and run our own tests. What does this sound like, everybody? Othram and the IGG.
Yeah.
Oh, Othram's building a profile. Oh, we're not done yet. Oh, don't worry. You guys are almost done. We'll take it from here, IGG. Oop, Brian Koberger.
Yep.
And then we degraded the sample so much that we... You, the defense attorneys, you can't see what we did. And by the way, not only can you not get that sample back from us because we ruined it, you can't even see what we did, who touched the sample, where the sample went, what things did it go through, nothing. And we're going to call it a law enforcement tip. I've had it, because now the FBI is going to do the same thing with that bullet fragment. They also said, by the way, to Tyler Robinson's defense, they said, you and your defense attorney expert cannot come to the FBI lab and see what tests we're running.
Well, it is a joke. It's ridiculous. I've had it as well. And I gotta say, when you were saying that, Motoman came in with a massive super chat and said, and thank you, Motoman. A judge pleaded BK's innocence rather than guilt. Then a judge forced him into a guilty plea deal. Why didn't they save the taxpayers the first time?
But we want to know why? Because I think they thought they could do something more with the car in the apartment. I think the feds fucked this all up, just like they're fucking up the Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson thing. If you don't notice in the interviews, not like the brilliant low IQ police of Moscow were very good in any of these interviews, no offense, but they were doing a little bit better in the beginning before Brian's name became apparent. You can kind of tell what time in December that name dropped into their radar, because they sound like Chat GPT for some of the later interviews of the frat brothers and the girls. Like, all of a sudden they started just asking the same questions with no follow-up. And I was like, what changed? I mean, not that they were extra curious before, but it got very Chat GPT at some point. And so I go, they must have gotten that name from the FBI and we're like, we're done. We know who it is. So
yep.
we're just checking the boxes. We talked to him. We're no follow-ups. He said something very interesting here, but fuck it. No follow-up.
Well, there's no follow-up, no further. How did they word it? It was like there was no further. I forget how they would word it. Well, no, but in the documents, they would always say like, and no further reporting or something, no further report. And Hot Girl Bummer 520 said post-conviction relief is still on the table, but I don't see it happening before the 1 year mark. Full transparency, I'm not trying to be negative, but the post-conviction relief that Brian Koberger is going to need, guys, the reason why I'm saying this is because when we go through the documents and we go through the photos, while yes, we have more people looking at it, but realistically, we haven't seen all of it either, right? Nope. We haven't seen all of it either.
It's like the Epstein files.
It's like the Epstein files. And what we've seen already, we can poke so many holes in it and have so much reasonable doubt. That's why I say post-conviction relief is going to be a nightmare, because if this existed, and don't tell me that Ann Taylor couldn't have gone through at least what we have thus far, right? That's what I'm trying to say is we have to also minimize it.
We sympathize with her for exactly what they're doing in the Robinson case too, where they hold on to all of this information till the 11th hour and then drop it all in her lap. And then they don't give her an extension to go through it. So she couldn't possibly comb through all those terabytes. That's completely reasonable. They could have figured out with a car expert, go to fucking jack off down the street mechanic in some fucking tin can and get him to tell you that that's not a Hyundai Elantra of his make and model. I swear to God, go dig anybody out of any hole and they will tell you that that's not the same freaking car. And the fact that they sat on that and didn't do anything with it is where I'm like, you know what? This is malfeasance. Like there's a million excuses I could give for how many pages and pages of documents, and there's no way they had the money in the same budget as the prosecution. It's an unfair burden in a lot of ways. But that one point of not recognizing that that's not even his car and it doesn't have fog lights will never be acceptable. Never.
It'll never be acceptable. And I think that that's why so many people, including myself, that have this ability to see patterns, as you were discussing with the Charlie Kirk and the Tyler Robinson and the bullet fragment, and how you notice that, and you notice the narratives around it. That's what I think. And that's why I personally believe that my mind goes towards, okay, this is very wrong from a justice standpoint and from the judicial, from the judicial system. But there's also something much bigger at play to have had this go so terribly wrong. And so I want to bring up, for the first time, again, Christopher Whitcomb is writing a book. He might be the first person that's got a platform to reach millions simultaneously that will actually and hopefully give Brian Kohberger a voice in this. And the evidence.
Can I tell you something, Birdie?
Yeah.
I think from that day that I texted you about, if we want people to take us seriously, let's dress up. I know I said it like half-hearted joking, but I half-hearted meant it, because I was so sick of people not taking us seriously. And of course I'm a good time and I have a potty mouth and all of that, but life is life. I'm not a professional broadcaster, so you get what you get. You are much better at the professional aspect.
Thank you. But you know what?
But it willed it into existence, because guess what started happening? Oddly enough, people started taking us more serious.
Yes, exactly. And I just saw, Indy Lizzie brings up a good point. Like, what are we doing other than YouTube lives? I've thought a lot about this, right? It's like, we need to be doing more. And how I would address this question, and I think it's a good point, Indy Lizzie, because we are going to need more people doing more things. It's really, what are you good at in your own life, and how can you make a difference by doing things that you're already doing? How do you mix stuff like this into it? Obviously, it depends on what it is, right? Like, if you're a kindergarten teacher, you can't start just talking about the lesson, but you could teach maybe a lesson on what do you say if a cop approaches you and your parents aren't around? You could say, I don't want to talk to you, right? You could do little things that make a difference in the long run. But as far as this case, I think that we have to continue to reach out and get guests into the Hive. We really do have the best chat on YouTube for allowing people to come in with a different opinion and give their take.
Yeah.
And we reason with them. And we need to use that.
And I also think here's a big difference in why, back when this was all first happening and there was so just lone voices out here on TikTok or YouTube, like me, you, Seagirl, Pav, Luna Noir. I mean, there's just a handful of us from the very beginning. I'm talking like from 2022. Okay. Like that early. The media and the narrative and the public were so against everything we were saying, so against it. There was just a pocket full of people who were agreeing with us in any way, or would even tolerate what we were saying or questioning. The difference between what the Charlie Kirk thing is, people realize that, and I think immediately jumped on pointing out the messed up stuff immediately. And that's the difference. That more we're not making the same mistake that we did, where we're a little bit timid and a little bit like, okay, we'll weigh it all out. No, we were like, boom. And it's actually worked. And the public is now more on this. You see it, the news looks like fools, and the internet is undefeated with the Charlie Kirk one. So it's like, I think this is starting to get into people's heads that we should not blindly trust anything that these people are saying.
No, we shouldn't. And also too, one of the things that I've learned since I have, I've been already kind of doing my research on Chris Whitcomb. Obviously, every time that I have a guest on, same thing with Scott Payne, or whenever I have somebody on, Jeff, I need to learn about them so that I'm prepared. Right. And one of the things that I find interesting is how much journalists are protected should be protected more with freedom of speech and whistleblowing. I don't believe that authors have to abide by a court-issued gag order mandate. I don't think any of us do. So if we were to ever get unredacted documents, we don't have to abide by that order in the court. And I just was looking that up, and yes, we don't. Authors, independent sleuths, YouTubers, podcasters, and true crime creators do not have to abide by the court's gag orders or the non-dissemination order. So that is interesting now.
Now, guess what's happening in Congress? Lindsey Graham is up here and he's trying to get a bill passed that takes away 702, or not 702, takes away section 230 for YouTubers and social media, specifically in regards to true crime and things like we can revoke the channels immediately. They want, because they're going to start holding YouTube. They want to hold YouTube, TikTok, Facebook liable for what people say immediately. So YouTube and all of these people are going to start whacking our channels one by one because I will flip out, but they don't want us and it has to do with the war in Iran, obviously, because they don't like what's happening on social media and people speaking out against it. And they don't like people talking about the Charlie Kirk case. So they're like, what are we going to do? Ooh, let's bring back up that section 230 and start threatening again. And so now people are going to start whacking the channels again, much like they did during COVID when you said, ooh, it might have came from a lab. Bye, you're off.
Well, and what's interesting, Sammy, is I'll actually take what you just said and I'm going to segue off it and actually elevate it more. Like I'm going to elevate it higher because you brought up specific cases or specific headlines, whatever situations the world is in. It's in general. What they really fear is the ability for people to communicate in real time. We no longer need the media that they can control what gets put out there. The news now, it's in the palm of your hand. You see live streams whenever there's news breaking, and that's what they don't like. They don't like that they can't get out in front of anything anymore.
And we're not listening. They see the numbers. They know they're toast.
They've been done. They've been done. And that's the thing.
We have a bit, Bertie, you have a bigger audience than Sean Hannity.
Is that true? Really?
I think so. I think his numbers are so bleak. Like I'm talking like overall, I think they do like the ratings like every week or something. And so I was like looking at your numbers like through all platforms. And I was like, wow, I think Bertie's like seriously competing with Sean Hannity.
When I say like the little old hive, you know what? That's fine. If we don't have, hundreds of thousands of like subscribers and viewers and all that, because you know what? We do this for something other than just the notoriety of, wow, look at how big of a channel this is, or look at that, or look at that, or look at this stat. But the views and those stats, they are evidence.
It's a cross section, though. You're reaching a variety of people and ages. So it's like if you don't have YouTube and you have TikTok, you get. So if you take the aggregate of all of it, it's actually a lot. And you're affecting people in cross sections who watch different platforms. Not everybody has everything.
Right. No, it is awesome. And it's been a learning process too, right? Because one of the things that and not that anybody even necessarily cares about this, but I want you guys to know, and I think it's important to hear from me, that as I've continued to do this, I do strive to get better and I try to coach myself and I'll take tips from other people. And as the platform being the Hive has grown, I've realized too that there are some things that I can stay true to myself where this is how I feel, but my delivery and my approach, there's more eyes on it. So I want to be more tactful. I want to be more prepared. I want to just, I can't just get up there and be like, it's a psyop, false flag. They're all alive because of this post. Right.
Who's that one fun guest who was like blowing up things in his backyard and like
Brandon Thrasher.
Yeah, Brandon Thrasher. So like that's a bit different. That's fun once in a while, but you can't do that always. You know what I mean? But it's fun to highlight people like that. And I think one of the pieces of advice I gave to you, especially I think it was maybe a month or so ago, because you were like, you do so. And I told you, I said, I can't believe how much you're on all the time. And I was like, delegate some things and rely on people's skills who are on the hive that are good at certain things. Like if you need research done or charts or this or that, just tell me and I'll do it. Or just take a weekend off. You don't have to be on every time because sometimes less is more. And you've built enough of an audience of it at this point where it's forgiven. They don't expect you to not have a life.
Well, and taking the weekends off, as much as I love the weekend streams, it's been so mentally refreshing. It gives me time to prepare.
I told you that. I was like, you're going to actually do a better job when you take that time to kind of reset.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody in the chat for all the kind words. I do have a Discord question of the day from A Willow 75. This is a question that's been asked, but I think it's still worth discussing at lengths because when are we going to do what A Willow asks? And A Willow goes on to say, I've got a question that's been bothering me for a while now. Why is the 4 a.m. timeline still seem to be the main focus? Is it just because DM says pretty much at 4 a.m.? So many of us agree that the white car seen coming and going wasn't Brian Koberger's car. So why the 4 a.m. timeline? The 1112 video is hard to trust at this point. Why is it such a divided, fuel-filled topic to have a difference of opinion on timelines with the updated discovery? And I want you to answer that first.
Well, I think let's put it this way. They said very little in the beginning. They gave us very little details, but one of the first pieces of information we got was the timeline. That 4 a.m. was one of the first details we got. The more I sit on it and the odder it becomes when you hear all of the surveillance, the other noise, that was a very smart thing on their part to do if they're going to lie about this from the get-go, because we didn't question it because it was the first thing that came out. So that was like ingrained in our heads. They trained us from day one to just think 4 a.m., 4 a.m., 4 a.m. That's the thing I think that matters the most, and that probably would fuck them over the most if they moved that timeline any which way, which they could not have if they were going to sell us on the rest of this horseshit river of garbage. So my opinion, just like the Charlie Kirk thing, what was one of the things they mentioned first was that necklace. And then they had her front and center out with the limo with that necklace in her hand. If I am a betting person, I think that necklace has a lot more to do with this murder than people are willing to realize or even know. That 4 a.m. timeline, they put that detail out front and center for a reason.
Well, well said, because the part that I was going to, I'm glad that you went into detail on that aspect of the question. The part that I want to talk about is the last part. Why is it such a divided, fuel-filled topic to have a difference of opinion on the timelines? Look, we all understand, or most of us probably understand, the dynamic of the Idaho 4 community on TikTok or on YouTube or other social media platforms, right? Same thing, Reddit threads. You kind of know what you can say and what you can't say, depending on where you're at or who you're tuning into. I bring all that up because that's one of the things that drives me up a wall is why can we not just think about a different time? In the reality of the crime, when it happened, I how can I say this? I understand what you mean by saying that's probably one of the most important aspects of it. But in my mind, sometimes I start to think, does the time matter when we don't know how they entered, what weapons they used, who was the target? Well,
that's the point.
Right?
It matters because there's more possibilities on the table with things like how many people, who entered where. Because if you take the timeline and you push it back and you make this a longer event, you make this a tortured event. You make this a multiple places event. You make this, they were here, then they got dragged here, then they were put up here, then they were slapped around here, pushed down here. All that needs one thing: more time. So opening the time window opens up more possibilities for the stuff you're talking about automatically.
Well, I completely agree. What Assman Unredacted just said is the time doesn't matter when we know and hear and see now what we didn't when this first became public. Right. And I think that the noises on the camera,
undeniable.
It's not even, is it a debate? You hear it going on so early for such a long period of time. To have somebody say this guy committed the crime in 5 minutes and left no blood on him in his apartment, in his car, or tracked it through the house.
Yeah, and then he just levitated and didn't leave any shoe prints or anything except for that one, which is definitely, can you believe this? By the way, we didn't even get to talk about this. When I said, wait a minute, Birdie, when we were looking at the Converse on the floor, and I said, can you pull that slide back up? And I said, those diamonds look a lot broader to me. And then we started looking at it. And what did Jeff say? Jeff said I was fucking right.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, that was by chance that we happened to be looking at that slide. I was like, pull that back up again, Birdie. That doesn't, that looks too big to me. Those diamonds look too broad, too wide.
I agree. You were spot on. And there was a lot of people that were saying, is that something else other than a shoe print? And then we have somebody who comes in and has expertise in that area. And he's saying, yeah, it's not that shoe print in his opinion, which is powerful.
I was looking at hiking boots and I was actually looking at slides, like pool slides or like athletic slides. And I was also looking at, those kind of like climbing shoes that are like socks, but they have the same kind of toughness to them as boots. They're like weird. I don't know.
Are they? They're like they're the barefoot shoes.
Barefoot shoes. Thank you. Those have some interesting patterns that I was screwing around with too.
I'm not gonna lie. I bought a pair of barefoot shoes one time because when
what
they
do
were
they
in,
feel like?
I don't know. I couldn't wear them out in public. I felt kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie. Like my toes are all like.
You were too embarrassed for.
I was wearing them with like jeans too. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I walk out. I'm about to go run errands. I'm like, I can't wear these. I turned around. I walked right back inside and threw out.
I was when in high school, I was such a like in my senior year at the end, I was so lazy. Like I used to get dressed to the nines. Like when I was a junior, by the time I hit like the last bit of high school, I was showing up to school in pajamas and I was wearing toe socks and flip flops. I'm not kidding. And I walked out of the house like that regularly.
We have a couple super chats that came in, and Sleuthing Sweetheart with a quote that says, "The world will never be a better place if no one is brave enough to do the right thing." Zootopia 2. I have not seen Zootopia 2. However,
I actually like Zootopia.
Oh, I'm assuming it's a kids movie, right?
Yeah, it's one of the ones I don't despise so much. I hate the movie Sing. Ugh.
Well, either way, it's a good quote. It's a really good quote, and I agree with that completely. Nomadic,
it is a good quote.
Nomadic Duckman said, "Do you think a company like Palantir could take all the data for the Idaho 4 case, the cell phones, the video, and come up with who might have really done it?" They might have did that with Brian Koberger, and they're doing a test run with it. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or to simply answer your question, 100% absolutely. Has anybody heard how the CIA found the down pilot that crashed with Iran? Dude, they used a thing called ghost murmur. They detected this man's heartbeat from 40 miles away.
And we still can't find Nancy Guthrie?
That's like, what I'm saying.
It's so wild to me.
What a badass name. Also, whoever came up with ghost murmur to be able to detect somebody's heart rate. Think about this. How are you ever going to... It's just, I can't even wrap my head around that. It's a highly advanced, classified CIA quantum technology that was used in April, so this month, to help locate a downed U.S. airman in Iran. It works by detecting the faint electromagnetic fingerprint of a human heartbeat at long distances using diamond magnetometry. The tool filters out environmental noise, providing a secondary confirmation for locating personnel.
You know what's so crazy about that? This is such a contradiction and a conundrum. On one hand, we have constant cases that go unsolved, like the Nancy Guthrie thing or the Charlie Kirk thing, Idaho 4 thing, whatever, or things that they just say are too complex for us to do anything about, and we just don't know what happened. And yet we have something that can detect our heartbeat from miles away and find people. Like we can go to the moon apparently, but we can't like, I mean, it's just so, but air travel, by the way, is the worst thing ever. I almost got threw off a plane. My daughter keeps telling this story. Because they made us sit on the tarmac for like an hour and a half because the air traffic control was so congested. So they're like, we're sorry, folks. And I was like, why would you let us get on the plane? Like now I'm squished, I'm hot. This kid behind me keeps kicking their seat and their parents don't seem to care. So I said the F word. I was like, if this kid kicks my fucking chair one more time, the parents called the flight attendant over. I have my headphones in and she taps me on my shoulder and she's like, ma'am, this is a family friendly flight. You cannot swear and use derogatory language. It took everything out of me not to just curse this fucking bitch out. It took every ounce of me to not leave my family behind on that plane and just go absolutely ape shit.
You just look at her with a straight face. You're like, you don't know what a bad day is. Like it just.
You didn't even serve us water or some fucking animal crackers. And we've been sitting on this plane. And I'm getting my ass kicked by some 9-year-old behind me whose parents don't even know what's going on.
There is, I will say, as a parent, I've made a future promise to myself that I will be not only self-aware or continue to be self-aware of myself, I will also be aware for my child, because there are times where I'm around kids and I'm like, where are this kid's parent? Like, I don't want to say anything, but I'm also like, are they aware? And you look over and it's like, they're right there. Like, how do they not see what's happening right now?
It gives me anxiety. And in the airport, like waiting, this mother had 4 kids. One was maybe just a year old. Another one was probably 2.5. Another one was 3. And the oldest looked like to be 4. These kids were running around, screaming, throwing food. She was just like this.
Oh, Jesus.
Not even looking at what was going around. I was getting such bad anxiety. I was like, Mom, we have to move our seats. I can't deal with this. Like, how is she not paying attention to what's happening right now? This poor baby's running around. Crackers are spilling everywhere. She's crying. The mom didn't even look up from scrolling. I was just baffling.
Yeah. I've had some terrible like flight experiences with stuff like that.
How does it get worse? Like, things are supposed to get better. Cars get better. Phones get better. Computers get better. Houses, no, that actually is not true. Air travel gets worse and worse every freaking year.
I'll tell this quick story. So I got flipped off by this 80-year-old lady in the airport one time because okay.
I wasn't expecting that.
So the story is this. It's so Mrs. Birdie and I, we were traveling to Hawaii, and this is about a year. This is like 2 or 3 years ago now. And we'd never been to Hawaii. We're all excited. We had a layover in Atlanta, super busy. I'm trying to find food for Mrs. Birdie and I, and every place is packed. I'm kind of crabby. I'm hungry, right? But I usually I'm minding my own business. But I hear, and I'm on my phone too, by the way. I'm like texting Mrs. Birdie and I'm just distracted. And I hear the honking on those golf carts that they use. Like, and I don't realize that I'm walking in the middle of the thing. So I realize it when I hear the guy going, sir. So I get out of the way. I'm like, damn, I'm just that guy. And this lady clearly sticks her like arm out to like get my low back. She doesn't like hit me, but I see clearly there's an effort made that she stuck her arm out to like make it a point that I was somehow pissing her off, that this guy had to honk. Yeah.
Right.
So I go, I'm full transparency. I'm maybe not the most proud of it. I'm like, don't fucking touch me. Like, that's what I said. And she's like this, like all fucking angry at me. And then I just remember like I went and I picked up like Just
I
going-
like both of you in this situation. That's how it should be.
we just start like
No
flipping each other
holding
off
back.
harder.
Fuck you.
Just like,
Fuck
no,
you.
fuck you. But anyways, yeah. Then I just shamefully and quietly walked back with like my
And then
Arby's
Birdie
and a
drop
cigar.
kicked that old lady right in the mouth. No, just kidding.
Stole the golf cart, told her to hold on.
Lay
Go
down,
for a ride.
Grandma. I'm hungry.
Okay, let's focus up. So going back to one of the topics that you wanted to talk about today, Sammy, there was this tweet that's on X.
I'll read it.
Yes. Let me pull that up here quick.
Ba-dum-bum. And everybody should follow this person if they're not.
Let me add you to the, hang on, Sammy. I got to add you to the thing. Whoops. Sorry. Hang on. You got to add a dynamic camera slot and change it to a circle, Okay, you know what? I'm not doing that. It's not working right now. Sorry.
All right.
I'm going to leave us like this.
Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. All right, here it goes. So this is by @ProjectConstitution. He's great on Twitter. He's following the Charlie Kirk case and all the fuckery. So he says, exposed. ATF report released in new defense motion in Tyler Robinson case. Proof the FBI is desperate to destroy their planted evidence. The first thing I thought when I read this was, how similar is this to the Brian Kohberger, Sheath, and IGG? And just you wait. The magic bullet narrative just took a catastrophic hit, and the feds are scrambling to literally destroy the evidence before anyone can look closer. We already know the official timeline is built on manufactured evidence. So then he goes through that, and then he says, we now have obtained a new legal motion from Tyler Robinson's defense team regarding the alleged bullet fragment pulled from Charlie Kirk's body, and the level of federal fuckery is breathtaking. Let's break down exactly why they are lying to you and why this document actually destroys the entire narrative, and how the feds are scrambling to literally destroy the evidence before anyone can take a closer look. All right. The state claims that Charlie Kirk was killed by a 30-06 round from a Mauser rifle, but the newly revealed ATF lab report from September 17th, 2025 destroys that theory entirely, calling a fragment of a 30 caliber class is completely generic. Calling a fragment of a 30 caliber class is completely generic. The ATF explicitly wrote firearms that produce general rifling characteristics similar to those observed on the Exhibit 6A bullet jacket fragment includes numerous makes and models. Basically, what this is saying is, okay, it could be this gun, but it could be 40 other guns in the United States. This means nothing. It's exculpatory, basically, because it doesn't prove it came from that gun, and it doesn't prove that bullet was fired from the gun. So the ATF admits that it's a bust. The ATF examined the deformed bullet jacket fragment recovered from the autopsy. Their official conclusion was that it is inconclusive. So then there was neither sufficient agreement nor sufficient disagreement of individual characteristics to link it to the weapon. So that's the ATF report. But guess what? The FBI was not happy with that report, just like they weren't happy with the 3 lab reports of the knife sheath when, we're not gonna test the blood, the mixtures of blood on this knife sheath, or all that blood rain that Jeff was talking about. No, let's not do that. We can't get anything from this knife sheath, so we're just going to go down and we're going to go to Othram, and we're going to say, come up with an IgG profile for us with this little touch DNA that we're claiming exists. We've never seen the science for this. We don't know what they did with this. All we know is that the DNA existed and now it doesn't, and we can't recreate what they did. So the FBI noted that when they received the fragment from the ATF, a small portion was already detached, implying the ATF already bent and altered the evidence. The FBI has now admitted that using pliers could leave marks and that it is possible additional pieces of fragment may have inadvertently become detached. Tyler Robinson's defense team naturally asked to have their own expert present for this highly destructive process, or at the very least, to have the FBI videotape the examination. What was the FBI's response? Absolutely not. You can't have your experts watching what we're doing to this bullet fragment that nobody knows anything and is inconclusive. The FBI doesn't like that report. So they're now going to run their own tests that the defense expert can't watch. They're not going to film it. And what does this remind you of, anybody?
Well, and let me just say, there's been some really good comments that people, just as far as one-liners, Hot Girl Bummer said, when did the FBI morph into the CIA? And Why Bother said, where does the corruption end? Who is controlling this? We wonder why people aren't being held accountable. That's one of the biggest issues that I have with these super secret operations. There's a diminishing return because it will always trickle down into the everyday person's justice system. It always will.
Well, I don't know why the feds are getting involved in so many state murder cases and aspects that they're so crucial and consequential to the defense, and they only put themselves in the most important parts of the cases, and then they say we either lost the report or damaged the evidence or this sample is no longer viable. It's like, I'm sorry, why are you involved? It's a state murder case.
It is wild. And then in addition to all that, they are in the habit of tearing down crime scenes now.
Yes, and paving them over too. Now we have a whole
crazy
team of pavers.
So they're altering crime scenes for the sake of what? It seems like it's a gaslit reason, which is there's too much that's sad about this. We are looking out for you. We don't want this to be a constant reminder. So we're going to tear it down. And then they think we're stupid enough that we don't know that it's really so that we just can't ever go back and re-examine it.
Well, it's really just playing on the emotion. Erica Kirk reminds me much of the parents in the Idaho 4, where it's like, she's a grieving mother widow, and these are grieving parents. So that means we can't prod this horseshit narrative because people are sad. What?
Right. Thank you. That's a really interesting way to say that. Is that so? You're telling me that because people are sad,
Right.
that now we can't have the truth because somebody's sad. Well, what if that sadness is caused by a lie? What if part of that sadness is a lie?
What?
You're giving
Let
them
me
fake
ask a
hope,
more
fake
important
closure.
question. Why are the parents and why is TPUSA and Erica happier if somebody who didn't do this goes to prison? Like,
Say that again?
that's the other. Why, if it makes the families and Erica and TPUSA sad to question the narrative, but in doing so, it gets justice and gets the right person put in prison, why does it make them happy to not do that? Right? So, like, isn't that suspicious? Like, wait, why does it make you happy to not know the answer?
Well, not only that, but then why are they also happy with things that are why are they happy with things that are very controversial? And instead of diving into it and pulling emotions out of it, which, yes, I understand that. I'm a human too. It's hard to do that all the time, especially if somebody in your family's involved. But if you're able to compartmentalize a little bit and understand, yes, I'm sad at the loss of this family member, but right now it's time for me to actually put my emotions to the side so I can use my brain clear-headedly. And I need to understand, is this evidence that everybody in the public is saying is wrong? Is it wrong? Or is it BS? What is it? And Isla said, why do they show the videos in black and white even though they are in color? I think it's because the car they want to pin on BK is not white. I put that on the screen, and thank you for the super chat, Isla. I put that on the screen because how weird is it that they'll use these little tricks to get evidence to stick? It's the weirdest thing about law enforcement and prosecutors. They just need a conviction because they're worried about their career. They're worried about getting enough.
Or they're worried about what happens when they know the truth. Like, the truth must be really bad if you need to pin it on somebody. I mean,
there's
it must
that,
be
true, yeah.
diabolical.
Right. And that whole concept, when did that become normalized? When did it become normalized that we'll just F up an innocent person's life by
Well, I think
planting or tricking others?
and a lot of the reason too is I don't think all the local law enforcement involved in any of these cases are all corrupt. So you're like, can't one good person? No, because I think they're terrified of the feds killing them, to be honest with you. And that happens a lot more than we think.
Well, and I am Canadian 902 said, you can't tell me that if you walk by there right now, you're not going to be sad. As far as if you're talking about the King Road house, I mean, I'll feel some type of way, but when I think of
That's
sadness,
life.
yeah.
Have you walked past a cemetery?
Right. You drive by them all the time, but I'm not trying to roast you. I'm Canadian. It's just like, yeah, of course you're going to feel something. But what I'm trying to say is that if you're too sad to realize a truth versus a lie, well, then you need to learn how to compartmentalize your emotions so that you can critically think and actually get the truth, so you can get the closure, so that you can grieve properly. Right now, people, not just in this case, but there's people all over the world that are grieving and getting closure from what very well could be a lie. That's
What's
not
even
okay.
What's more interesting is watching the pivot, because Steve wasn't buying this at first, and then he switched on a dime in such a dramatic fashion and is kind of petered around the edges of being a little bit more open-minded. At least I thought when you told me that he watched that episode and Jeff spoke with the Goncalveses,
Right.
and I was like, wow, that's good news in my opinion. I mean, I'm not going to shit on them entirely if they start being open-minded. I welcome that. I hope they're watching, and I hope they're being like, okay, we have, the problem is when they continue to behave like this and I see them doing their news spots and continuing to shovel the same lies into the atmosphere, and it's like, guys, I know this is going to be tough to wrap your arms around, but why the switch when you did? And what are you so afraid of protecting? Like, why is that so awful to you? I don't know. Your daughter isn't coming back. I know Hitler said that. It's not going to bring your daughter back. But putting someone in prison who may not have done this and not even exploring the possibilities when we know you have doubts yourself is so bizarre to me. And on the other flip side, the TPUSA thing, they don't want you. They want Tyler Robinson in jail yesterday. They don't want any of this being opened up.
Well, and one of the things that I've really thought about with just let them grieve. You can't use that excuse forever, especially when the evidence is mounting and piling that this is wrong. How are we not letting them grieve? We're not making anybody go and look at any of the content. And you could say, well, they're on social media, they're going to see it. Well, I don't know. The algorithm doesn't show my wife anything that I look at that's outside of the Idaho 4.
Also, by the way,
right?
It's a choice to be on the internet and on
Right.
social media. You can go and research whatever you want. You like kitty and dog videos, go watch those all day. And Idaho 4 won't be in your algorithm. You want to watch the Iran war conflict and podcasts about Israel, go do that. Like, it doesn't matter. You can curate your social media to show you whatever you want it to based on your algorithm and what you want to see and don't want to see. If you sign online and you're seeking this out, that's going to make you sad. That's your own fault. I'm sorry.
Right. And to what Duneweiser says is, it brings us back to Brian Koberger. Why is he not speaking out about this? He knows this stuff. Why is he not speaking up? He's a criminology guy. He's also staying silent, right? He could either just be at a complete loss and think that Ann Taylor's hopeless. He could be giving up. It could be.
What has Ann Taylor told him is my question, because I think that bitch is corrupt. I think she is just like, I still have to have this job at this government, this corrupt government, and I still have to work with these corrupt judges, these corrupt prosecutors, and within the system and getting my salary. I hope your soul was worth it, Anne. I hope it was worth it. But maybe he's believing somehow got manipulated because he seemed to really trust her. Like, you saw the way he looked at her. He trusted that lady. a lot. He doesn't give many emotions, but the ones that I did see during this whole debacle, start to finish, he trusted Anne.
I agree with that. And to kind of put a cap on the whole let them grieve thing, there also comes a point where, while everybody understands that, now once the public wakes up to this and there's a public interest in what happened with law enforcement, with the court system, with three-letter agencies involving themselves in local homicides, well, now you just opened up the floodgates to a ton of other people's real lives that believe they've also been railroaded. And so after a certain point, feelings don't matter to the public. I'm sorry. That's the reality of it. That is the reality. That's with every situation ever. I have things that I'm still sad about that there are people that don't give a damn about. And there's probably things that people are sad about that I don't give a damn about. That's life. There is sad stuff that happens. There's happy stuff that happens. But one thing I can promise you is that this excuse of we're going to hide the truth behind this need to let families grieve, people are over that. Like, we understand that. It's called respect. You give them their space. Yes, let them grieve. People grieve differently. But when it's starting to hide a public interest in truth, well, now that kind of goes out the window, in my opinion.
I agree with you. And I think that this case is so consequential for how now other cases are being handled with the ceiling and with everything else and patsies. And I just look at this as so scary. And like, this is way more important overall, because imagine how other cases are going to go from here on out based on what we saw in Idaho. I mean, we're already seeing it, and it's terrifying. That should shake you to your core over your feelings every day and twice on Sunday. I'm sorry.
And really, it's just this little shield that for the first few months, let's all be compassionate. Yes, that's human instinct, but it also is buying time. People forget that part of it. It's buying time for the same people that put these lies into place, that are pushing the narrative, that are then pushing this whole point of let them grieve. It's buying them time to continue to cover this up, because they have this window, and we've watched it happen in this case. A lot of us have personally experienced it when you've posted something that's not attacking a family member. It's not attacking anybody personally. You're just saying, guys, I don't think that they got this right.
In the beginning of this that we got put on our channels, the hate I got, it was legendary. I mean, I thought I was Ted Bundy myself. I was like, wow, I must be a serial killer. I mean, honestly, the way we were treated in the beginning, it was horrible. But it's like, I wasn't going to let it bother me. I was just like, this just doesn't feel right. This doesn't seem right. This evidence feels fucked up. I don't like the way this is being rolled out. Why are they hiding so many things? Why aren't they turning over this discovery? It just seemed crazy. And I was like, why am I alone in this? And then I found my crew, and I was like, I'm not alone in this. I'm glad.
It's tough. There's a lot of clowns out there. There's a lot of clowns. There's also a lot of cowards. There's a lot of cowards that are afraid to be questioned based on their own worldview. And I don't need to go and get all philosophical on this, but again, there is something, and I think as a society, from an IQ standpoint, which I'm going to call this IQ, we have to level up in emotional maturity again.
Yeah.
We have to become a more mature public and a more mature society. We can't just whine and cry and stomp the ground and tell people to go kick rocks if they disagree with us over things that really, I mean, guys, the majority of stuff that we disagree on from a whole is pushed on us. Really, I believe that a lot of the stuff is pushed on us. You're forced to choose a team. And I think as a society, we are very low IQ. We're like sheep being herded to the slaughterhouse, and we fall for it over and over and over again. And then you see these little microcosms and these micro situations of it, like what we've seen, where even in the Idaho 4 case, oh my God, if you say that there's a scream at 2 a.m. and maybe it happened at 2 a.m., you're exiled from some people. It's a joke.
Oh yeah. I think too, like the strength of the Hive has brought the more expertise and people like Jeff and authors like Chris who are going to come on your show. that they see. I don't believe they didn't see our bravery and thought, you know what, I have a great career. I know that I'm a good person in my field. I know people trust me. I'm brave enough now to come out and give my opinion. And it might not be what the mainstream media has been saying this whole time. It might not be as, experimental in thought the way the Hive is, but that wouldn't have happened. I believe none of this book that's coming out or Jeff coming on would have happened if we haven't been absolutely relentless in wanting the truth.
I agree. And there's so many people to just look. I know we need to talk about the case, but I go back to, and I'm forgetting the person's name that left the comment where I had put it on the screen where it's like, right, but what are we going to do? What are we going to do besides talk about it? Right. It has to be everything. Like, it sounds weird to say it's got to be everything, but it really does.
It's got to be Brian at this point. He has to pick an appellate lawyer. I don't know if he wants to call Ron up from Custody Queens, but he has to be proactive in his own life. If he wants to rot away in prison, not call Ron from Custody Queens or call somebody to take on his appeal, which maybe I'd say a year ago, there'd be few people who are going to do a bang up job. But I believe there's enough interest in this case and enough people who are experts and great appellate lawyers are listening to this podcast, to other podcasts, and are saying, you know what, I'd help this guy out now. But he has to say that. He has to kick Ann Taylor to the curb forever.
Yes.
Realize what happened to him, unfortunately, sever that tie, and be proactive in saving his own hide at this point. And I don't know if he's capable of doing that.
Listen, I agree with you. The reason why Brian ultimately needs to is that everyone has been looking and defending this case ass backwards for 3 years now. They told us it was a lone wolf criminology student who picked a random house full of strangers and butchered 4 kids with a K-bar in under 4 minutes. That is so stupid. That is the worst story that they could tell and then show us the evidence.
And didn't know the layout, never been in the house and didn't know the layout of the house, and they can't connect him to the house. Look at how complicated that house is. That is ridiculous. Oh, and by the way, after that, when he was leaving, he saw another girl and he was just like, man, leave her.
It's just crazy. It is crazy.
I don't care if there's a witness.
And it's so, my point in saying that is, are we okay with the excuse that this really was that hard to defend? I have to ask that question. I'm not trying to be a hater. Was this case...
There was a lot of roadblocks.
Okay, there was a lot of roadblocks. Fine. But then that's a bigger issue. Then it goes into like justice reform. But also, this is straight up misconduct then. There's so many other things that it's like, Ann Taylor should have recruited help. I don't care if Ann Taylor's not used to doing death penalty and she only does DUI cases or low-level drug charges. Come on, Ann, use your head. You have the biggest case in the world and you don't ask for any sort of help or guidance as far as we know outside of maybe the experts? I
emailed her so many times. If she would have said, look at all of these people who want justice for my client. Why don't I just take a bunch of these people and do the work? Like, I would have researched for her for free any day of the week.
Why is there not somebody who, I think that's an aspect of the internet sleuths that absolutely needs to be, somebody needs to take advantage of that, because there's so many people out there that would do this to help
all the time.
Yeah.
If you could take teams of people from the internet, even lawyers who would do it for free. So many people I heard, like I remember Andrea Burkhart and who was the other one? I don't know. I was watching a bunch of lawyers when this was going on, different streams of lawyers, and they all said they would do anything for free for this case to help.
I agree. And what Brandon said too is, did Ann even need to get through all of the terabytes to defend this? I don't believe so anymore. I'm sorry.
She knew the pieces that she needed because she's asked for them multiple times.
So that's the other part then, where Somebody help me understand. Yes, this is wrong, but how does it happen? That's what I want to know.
I think the corrupt part, and I used to think, okay, in the beginning, when she was trying to get it out of Moscow because of the prejudicial stuff, that now in hindsight was the biggest mistake she ever made. Because Hitler,
Say that again.
When she did that whole survey to prove that he couldn't get a fair trial in Moscow, and then they switched judges. So it was Judge John Judge and then to Judge Hitler. I think that in hindsight, at first I thought it made sense, but now in hindsight, I'm like, why would she want to go to a judge who knows so many things about the case? Even if it's in a different jurisdiction, it's a nationally known case. So everybody's going to know this case. I get that she thought it was more prejudicial in Moscow, but by how much? It's still Idaho. It's still not far. Everybody in New York knows about the case. Everybody in Pennsylvania knows about the case. It doesn't really make sense. So I was like, now in hindsight, I'm thinking, why did she want to be in Ada County? That judge is a white collar crime judge. He's a financial crime judge. He doesn't do. So then I started thinking, I go, why? Maybe there was something more there that we should have been paying attention to. I don't know.
A lot of this will make sense. So in addition to the corruption that we've been laying out for years, once people can wrap their head around that it's not just framing Bryan Kohberger and covering up the truth and letting real killers walk free, you have to understand that they are protecting the machine that ultimately and very well could have gotten these kids killed. They're protecting the entire machine. If there was something that this was revenge for parents cooperating or a frat hazing death not investigated correctly, and there are people that are walking free and now are resentful towards certain individuals, or they want to get back, right? At the end of the day, they are protecting themselves more than they're probably worried about finding the truth or framing Bryan Kohberger.
How much do you want to bet that? How intimidating that task force probably was, that Quad City Drug Task Force, federal, local, and state. That right away to me said, there's something there that they want to steer it as far away from anything that's going on with those prosecutions as much as possible. And I bet you there was some sort of message that came down like, don't fucking bark up this tree if you know what's good for you, and get this out of Moscow and get this into Ada County. Because everything went south after that. And I also think too, like when Anne, she knew the pieces of evidence that she was asking for and needed, but she gave up on the things like the timing advance reports, which in the FBI's own manual, just read their freaking manual that says how long they can get these conversations. It says it in their own manual. Verizon keeps these timing advance reports for several years or however many. I did a TikTok on it years ago, but it's like, you just read them their own manual. How could a judge deny it then? You would have to put Nick Balance up on the stand and ask him these questions and have him read his own fucking training manual from the FBI that gives you the exact time and how much they keep these things. You know they're lying. Just read them their own manual. Like, that's not hard.
Guys, and I'm not trying to... And also, I'm also kind of pussyfooting around it just because
she's saying Hitler denied it. Yeah, I know Hitler denied it, but if Anne submitted the manual with the motion, how could he deny it? Because it doesn't matter if Nicholas Balance said that, oh, we don't keep these for that long. Guess what, sir? Your training manual says otherwise. She should have submitted the motion with the manual.
I agree. And to, again, not pussyfoot around it, but at a certain point, when people say it's a strategy with Ann Taylor, okay, fine, that could be the case. But really, we have to look at the reality of it. We need to talk about the one person that could have absolutely blown this entire cover up to smithereens. And instead, what does the paperwork show and what does the actual court case summary show? Ann Taylor helped bury it, right? She went how many years and weeks before a jury selection she decides to help craft the quietest, most suspect plea deal of all time in one of the most controversial and high-profile murder cases of the century.
Well,
Make
the
that
fact
make
that
sense.
they were making that they were screaming about the death penalty, and they were allowed to get away with the horse shit of leaking. She knew they were leaking. She knew that they were not obeying the gag order. She knew that there was different rules for the defense versus the prosecution and law enforcement and the whole nine. All of that. Why, when they come to you with a plea deal, would you accept it? That's showing you that they don't have dick. That's when you should have been sharks. You should have
Blood in
been
the
the
water.
biggest shark ever at that point. You should have felt on top of the world when they came to you with that plea deal, because you know they have nothing.
Right. She's playing ball with the same team that needs this case to vanish. That's what I don't get.
And she knew that. And she
She knows
stacked her
that.
career on that as a defense attorney, saying, my client's, Your Honor, my client's innocent. She said it multiple times. You don't say that unless you believe that. So why, when there was blood in the water, and you know, even though you had some judgments go against you, do you tell your client to take this? I don't understand.
The other thing with the death penalty and how, and I've fallen victim to this too. I'll preface it with, obviously, I've never been in that situation. Pray to God, I'm never in that situation. And with the threat of you're terrified of the death penalty. Okay. Is being wrongfully convicted and not even having a chance for people to see the BS that we've now seen, is that really better? Right? Like, that's what I don't understand, is at what point with what we've seen now did Brian change his mind? What could have surfaced that the prosecution had that Brian wouldn't have known about, that they already couldn't have proven enough reasonable doubt? And so to just say it's because he's afraid of the death penalty. Okay, there are people that are appealing death penalty cases all the time. You listen to Josh Hurwitz. Josh Hurwitz says they wanted finality so that there wasn't all of these appeals. That's a quote from Hurwitz. So it's like they use the death penalty as a leverage technique to force the plea deal, because when you force the plea deal, then it just vanishes. And that's what is so confusing, that Ann Taylor would have ever agreed to this.
And even this, Birdie, like, we still didn't get to see all the trouble that they were going to get in the prosecution and the law enforcement for leaking. And would that automatically get him a new trial because of them disobeying the gag order and leaking all of this prejudicial, biased information with the gag order? Like, they obviously did that. It was going to come out that they did that. It was going to come out which law enforcement officers and what people were leaking that was giving prejudicial, wrong information, surveillance, all that crap to all these documentaries and specials. Again, that's another reason where you should have hung in there, because I think that's an appealable issue. Like, my client could get a fair trial. Look at what they were doing before trial. The own prosecutions, the state's attorneys, the law enforcement officers, the task force, the FBI, whoever was leaking, did all this to make my client look guilty before a single piece of evidence was heard by a jury.
Well,
I mean, come on.
And so, look, like, I saw Detective Mowry saying, nope, taking the plea deal was the best choice, period, full stop. Okay. I'm allowed to change my mind right now. And after going through these documents, not enough people say this. Brian Koberger would have won the case. He had the case won. You have to remember the human factor of the psychology of a human juror sitting there and listening to it. Well, yes, I understand you could have prejudice and the jury selection and all this. My point is, if they were going to do the change of venue, and if they were, I'm saying they should have started this and had a different strategy leading up to it so that this would have all been avoided. Right?
I think, but Brian knows, part of the reason now that I'm thinking about this, Birdie, maybe because of his disability. And if you looked at that old Reddit post, he is introspective. He's very intelligent, but he knows how he comes across, and he knows that he lacks that something inside of him that makes him feel not as normal I mean, who's really normal? But do you know what I'm saying? He even felt that within himself. Like, he's an outsider. He doesn't have the same, I feel like he felt like he doesn't have that same sort of humanness that some of us have, or it doesn't come across. Maybe he has it, but it doesn't present to other people. It's awkward. It's something vacant about how he comes across. And maybe he just got too much into his own head where he was like, even though I have all this, he knows too much about the legal system. He sees how these things play out. He knows himself too well. And maybe he just thought, there's no way I can win this because I know how I come off, you know?
Yeah, look, I get it. There's all this. We can talk technicalities. We can talk hypotheticals. At the end of the day, whether he took the plea deal or not, this appeal is going to take a long ass time, and he's sacrificing a massive chapter of his life in which he probably should never have been in this situation. It's frustrating. And like I said, I'm able to change my mind and go back and forth on it. I'm really just shocked at the level of Brian's going to have every roadblock possible. And what made it weirder is that nobody else is stepping in to draw attention to it, to try to help Anne. And that's what I'm saying is, like, Brian, I believe if he would have been able to, I don't know, if Brian knows so much about this, I could be wrong because I'm doing a hypothetical too, saying, or I'm speaking hypothetically right now, saying he should have never done it. He had the case won, right? I'm sure there are juries that have found people guilty when they're really innocent. We all know that they have. I just think that Brian should have, I don't know. I feel like seeing these documents, Brian should have maybe let it ride.
Do you think when this book comes out, like, I don't know if he has access to the internet and can see all of the public sort of turning the tide more in his favor, or at least open to being more willing to hear the actual facts and seeing the problems in this case? Do you think once this book comes out, I hope he sends him a copy in prison, by the way, but do you think maybe he would be more open to having a fire lit under him to appeal this or try to get out of this?
I don't know.
Because I don't know if he has the internet and can see what the public thinks now. But if he sees somebody like Chris writing this really thorough book about all the problems, maybe that's something that is super concrete and tactile that he has in his hands, and he'd be like, I gotta fight this.
I'd like to see Bill Thompson's Brady disclosures. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see
trying to seal and prevent so many things, which is such another indication of how bad this was going to be. This was going to be so embarrassing. I mean, the other problem though is Hitler, I think, would have made it. I don't know. Like, I think he was going to make it as hard as possible for Anne. I think it was going to be another Judge Bev situation with the Karen Reed trial, but like 10 times worse.
Well, I don't disagree. And we got a bunch of super chats. So let's try to knock some of these out. So Moto Man's going back to Ghost Murmur, saying that I guess that's something they use if they truly care about something. Yeah, where they're detecting somebody's heartbeat 40 miles away. We can't even find a white Elantra. Not the right one. It's ridiculous. They can find a pilot's heartbeat using magnetometry or whatever word it is that they invented, and it can find the pulse of a human heart from 40 miles away, but we can't even tell if this damn car's got fog lamps.
They can't tell us who ordered the DoorDash.
Like I said, they could do that, but the security footage is recorded with a rock. It's just unbelievable. And Donnie Brooke Kettles says they all have ties to Moscow. Isn't Ann Taylor going into private practice? Who would use her after all this? I would hire her as my defense attorney. I would never hire Ann Taylor as my defense attorney. Ever.
No, I hope she has no career after this.
I don't know if that could have been a typo, because she said, who would use her after all of this? I wouldn't hire her as my defense attorney.
Probably.
Maybe. But yeah, I don't disagree. And Grammy Tammy says, I think he can't afford an attorney.
Probably.
Well, then, okay. So guys, this is what I'm trying to say. We've all watched the Karen Reed and the money she's raised. We've seen other people raise money for legal fees. Why is he not talking out then? Like, that's my whole point, is why is this dude just settling?
his family should be more behind him, and his family should be just as present as the Goncalveses. And the fact that they aren't is strange to me. Like, I don't know if they're just weirdos or what, but they should be just as front as center as the Goncalveses are, screaming to the tops of the roof that he didn't do this.
Yes, and I think really too, when I talk about this plea deal, I'm frustrated, right? I am frustrated. My own personal opinion is that this is such a wrongdoing. I'm upset that it even got to this position because I can't imagine what it would feel like to be in that position. And I also feel like we all are bought into this. We want to make a difference. And I'm ready for what we're saying and what we've uncovered and what we've learned to start moving the needle. You know what I mean? I really am. I want these people.
But he has to want it. Again, none of this matters, even though we can be as fired up about this as we want. But if his family is like, fucking say nothing, do nothing, he's saying nothing and doing nothing, I don't know what good it's going to do.
Well, and that's where it comes
other
back.
than just bringing attention to the fact that this is wrong. And someday I hope he figures it out.
Well, and at what point too? Yeah, Doug Weiser says, "Where's Catherine Zillner from Making a Murder with Stephen Avery?" I could you imagine watching Kathleen Zellmer? She's based out of Chicago. She defended Stephen Avery, and if you watched Making a Murderer, she walks in there like she owns the place, and she's like, "Nope, we're doing this, 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 and that." Can you believe this? And I know that we've talked about Ann Taylor's vigor in court and the way that she presents this evidence and talks. I've said my own personal opinion for a defense attorney, you need to be a little bit more boisterous. You need to be enthusiastic, right? That's my own personal opinion. When I watch really top of the line defense attorneys, they are selling you on the story. They are making you feel
Action Jackson and
you.
Karen Reed, like,
yes.
You got to be good. You got to be charismatic. You got to come out with, like, there's so many hearings, like I said, where I was like, wait, I couldn't wait for her. And she was just, I mean, so blase at some points when she should have been like nailing them. I mean, she was good in some aspects. I'm not going to give her an F overall, but the ones that really counted were super disappointing.
And it's like all of the proceedings, all of the court videos that we've watched, I feel like they're played on 0.5 speed. It's so hard to watch and to follow. It's like in between Hippler's ums, they talk at 5 words a minute. It's terrible to watch it. Like, I've tried to go back and rewatch these things, and I'm like, I got to put this on 2.5 speed for it to sound like a normal sentence.
I can't get my fucking chat. My friends are group chatting me, and I can't get them to stop messaging me.
Well, Sammy will hopefully get that fixed. Her camera froze. So, Sammy, if you're watching this, you're going to have to come on back. But nonetheless, let's see what's going on in the channel. Keep an eye out for Sammy backstage. I saw Karmic Retribution said, listen, it's unrealistic, period, for Brian Cooper to not talk at some point, or it's effing fake. Sometimes I think we make excuses for common sense in this case. I know we do. We're all guilty of it in one way or another, depending on what we want to say that excuse is and what that circumstance is in this case. I've probably done it. You've probably done it. We make these excuses and we almost think our way out of, or overthink our way into, rather, that, yeah, that would make sense. But really, it doesn't. This entire thing was done from the jump, looking back at it. Billy Smith says, I could have defended Brian better. Brian Koberger needs Robert Shapiro. He needs an out-of-state lawyer. That's a good point. Detective Bowery said Innocence Project's not going to take this up for a few years. They have plenty of other cases currently being worked on, so he has to go to the back of the line. That's the other thing, guys, too. You got to realize how long these appeals take. I believe that I pulled up the statistics recently, but at one point or another on the stream, I've shown that wrongful conviction with DNA it's on average like 10 to 16 years. Uh-oh. Sammy just texted me. She goes, my chat messed up my StreamYard and the laptop. Tell everybody I'll be back next week. So Sammy says, bye, Hive. That's unfortunate. And Assman Unredacted said, I wonder what he said about his attorney behind closed doors. What is the reason for him not talking? Can we have an in-depth conversation about that right now? Outside of, and I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm really not. But outside of the simple things that we've talked about, we've addressed. Yes, we acknowledge that. Is he waiting strategically to drop a bombshell? Maybe. Is there anything that we haven't thought about? Why isn't he talking? Sluther Dare says, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Kelly Truth Seeker said, if he's not going to appeal, then why talk? It's a contract. Hilariot said, he's not in jail. UFO Dog says, I don't know why he doesn't want help. Shelly says, I think he's not talking because something bigger surrounding the case. Third Apache said, maybe Ann Taylor said not to. At this point, I'm probably done listening to Ann Taylor if I'm Brian. Maybe. I don't know. I don't want to be mean to Ann. I just feel like when we look at this stuff, roadblocks are, I just feel like there's got to be some creative ways. If you look back and playing Monday morning quarterback and armchair detective, I know it's easier said than done. I'm addressing that. Okay. I'm not trying to sound like a know-it-all that it would have been easy. It wouldn't have been. I feel like there was steps that could have been taken and measures could have been put in place to avoid, turning this into what it has become. Crop Duster said he's a Fed. Ann was probably shut down too, is what Mighty White UK said. Kerry Johnson said, for Brian Koberger not talking, maybe he has allowed himself to be positioned in the perfect setting to write a monumental dissertation about everything he's already written about. And I tend to agree, Tony Stevenson. Let's do a poll. I'm going to use this poll now. Let me just type this out. All right. Did Ann Taylor think that this was going to go to trial? 1 for yes, 2 for no. And now we can use these cool little widgets that I figured out yesterday on stream. So type a 1 for yes, type a 2 for no, and the poll for StreamYard will track this. And you guys should be able to see the results in the left-hand corner as you type a 1 or 2. I think that's awesome that StreamYard integrated that. Johnny Brooke Kettle, thank you for the super chat, said, I wouldn't hire her. Yeah, she's in private practice, but that cost. They won't let him talk. Well, there's some force of nature at play. There's no question about that. And whatever it is powerful. So again, for the poll asking, did Ann Taylor think that this was going to go to trial? 1 for a yes, 2 for a no. I'm going to close the poll in 3, 2, 1. And we had 24 people say yes and 82 people say no. So 77% of people that voted believed that Ann Taylor believed this was never going to go to trial. 4 days. 4 days. Or I'm sorry, not 4 days, but weeks just before this was set to have a jury seated. It's wild. Absolutely wild. And Hive, I've been going longer the last few nights. I don't know if you can hear my voice, but I got that damn scratchy feeling coming back. And in the attempt to save it, I'm going to stick to the normal hour and a half stream time this evening. So thank you so much for everybody that tuned in. Thank you to Sammy T Mafia for popping up on the stream. Please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. I will be on tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Central. It will be a call-in show. So we will do a Friday night call-in show. Very, very excited to get to hear from everybody and bring your questions. We can have an open format. We can discuss anything and everything. And I look forward to chatting with you all then. Sleep good, everybody. Cheers.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life.